Hello and welcome to National Focus. I am Julian Morris. In the headlines, Prime Minister the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit to address the 46th Caricom Heads meeting. The Independent Regulatory Commission, the IRC, holds first public meeting on Domlec's tariff rate review. And the DDA's newly appointed Destination Marketing Manager says she's delighted for the opportunity to give back to Dominica. The details of the headline stories and more when we return.
Ride safe, wear a helmet, safer roads in the nature aisle. This message was brought to you by the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica.
Welcome back. Prime Minister the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit will attend the 46th meeting of the heads of government of the Caricom community, Caricom, in Georgetown, Guyana, from February 25 to 28, 2024. The meeting will focus on regional food and nutrition security, developments in regional transportation, climate change and climate financing, and global and hemispheric issues to include developments in the Middle East. Heads of government will also discuss the ongoing situation in Haiti and receive an update on the implementation of the decision to work toward free movement for all Caribbean community nationals. Prime Minister Skerrit will then move on to St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the 8th Summit of the Heads of Government of the Community of Latin America and the Caribbean, CELAC, which will be held on March 1, 2024. The summit will address the strengthening of the CELAC and the sustainable development of the Latin American and Caribbean regions. In the absence of the Prime Minister from the state, Honorable Dr. Irving McIntyre, Minister for Finance, Economic Development, Climate Resilience and Social Security, will serve as acting Prime Minister. The police has issued a warning that lawlessness and violence will not be tolerated in Roseau or elsewhere in connection with a planned meeting by the Concerned Citizens Group. Acting Police Chief Davidson Valerie says the Concerned Citizens Group has requested permission to hold the meeting in Roseau on Sunday, but there are indications on social media that this meeting could be a pretext for violence.
I have also received intelligence gathered from social media and other credible sources that there are threats circulated on social media by a group of people believed to be associated with the meeting to commit lawlessness and create violence during the meeting. Some of the threats are to procure gasoline to burn the city of Roseau. There is also a threat to create an island-wide blackout so as to facilitate the commission of illegal acts against persons, including the Minister of National Security.
The acting chief of police says the police is also prepared to intervene to deal with anyone who engages in any form of disorder or lawlessness in the country. Minister for National Security, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, says while the mantra of the ministry and that of government is to promote an atmosphere of peace, there are elements in our society who do not share that goal.
We all know that there's some in our mix who have been actually promoting a narrative and a drumbeat that is not promoting an environment of peace, but promoting violence and seeking to incite people to proceed on a path of lawlessness.
The National Security Minister says while government is not in the business of suppressing free expression, there are limits.
The expression of one's view freely should not be falsely construed as a right to say whatever you feel like, irrespective of the implication on the security of the state. In that regard, I'm calling on all Dominicans to avoid dancing to the drumbeat that promotes violence, and to embrace the whole idea and mantra that the Labour Party government promotes, which is one of peace and love.
The Public Order Act gives the Minister for National Security the authority to prohibit any public meeting.
I've been briefed by the Chief of Police, and I have in my possession a certain credible intelligence that speaks to the intention of some who belong to the same political party or ecosystem of the United Workers' Party. I believe that the majority of the supporters of the Workers' Party are good people and do not share the same radical view or views as those who are seeking to create an environment of lawlessness in this beautiful country. But having considered all the ramifications, I do not believe that I am inclined to invoke the said section to prohibit the public meeting.
The organizers of Sunday's meeting have been instructed by the Chief of Police to issue a statement totally denouncing any attempt by anyone attending or associated with that meeting to perpetrate violence.
We are waiting to hear that pronouncement. And the organizers of that meeting, if they fail to control any lawlessness, will be held responsible and culpable for any lawlessness manifesting on the streets of Roosevelt or any part of this country. Lawlessness on the streets of Roosevelt will not be permitted for any part of this country. We shall not have a repeat of February 7th, 2017 in this country anymore.
The Independent Regulatory Commission, IRC, convened the first meeting in a series of stakeholder consultations to discuss the electricity tariff rate review of Domlec. Communications specialist of the IRC, Ms. Idona John Baptist, says the depreciation rate study of Domlec assets took priority in the first public consultation on February 22nd.
Domlec's depreciation rate study is among other tariff-related documents that the IRC must review before the final determination is made for new electricity rates in Dominica. This is the item up for discussion here this morning, as the focus will be on Domlec's network and the generation assets.
Mr. Dean Watson, Domlec's consultant and the managing partner of the Alliance Consulting Group, says the most recent study indicates that the depreciation expense of Domlec is expected to decrease by $7 million per annum.
We found that the expectations for the lives of some of these assets, based on looking at the operations of them over the last several years, is that the lives were expected to last or be a little bit longer than was expected during the last study. So when you increase the life, you will decrease, all things being equal, the depreciation expense that is required each year. So in finding those changes, we have seen that the depreciation expense for Domlec should reduce annually by around $7 million. And that is because we see in a number of cases that the lives are increasing to some degree.
Executive Director of the IRC, Mr. Justin Case, highlighted the significance of the findings of the depreciation rate report.
Our consultancy has meticulously conducted an in-depth analysis aiming not only to meet but exceed industry standards. The report before us represents a synthesis of rigorous research, expert analysis, and a commitment to deliver actionable insights that empower the Commission to make informed and accurate decisions. In the ever-evolving regulatory environment, staying abreast of change is not only a necessity but a strategic imperative. Our team has navigated through the nuances of regulatory frameworks, bringing forth a depreciation study that not only satisfies compliance criteria, but also provides a strategic roadmap for efficiently optimizing Domlec's asset management.
The IRC, as the regulator of the electricity sector, has the legal authority to approve, conditionally, or reject Domlec's proposed rates. The rate review process was initiated in 2021. Newly appointed Destination Marketing Manager at Discover Dominica Authority, Ms. Andia Ravarea, says she is delighted to take up that responsibility as it is an opportunity to give back to her community and, by extension, the country. Ms. Ravarea, who is from the village of Coliho, took up the position effective February 14. Prior to her engagement in Dominica, Ms. Ravarea worked in the public and private sector in Anguilla.
In the public sector, I served as the tourism research officer, and I also did product development. One of my pride and joys is actually the well project in Anguilla, and this is quite, much of the history and heritage of Anguilla is based on well digging, because unlike us, there's no rivers or fresh flowing streams per se, but they can access fresh water from digging wells. So what we've decided to do is to truly put that forward, that part of the heritage forward, and started the Western Well Project, which was supposed to extend throughout the entire island.
She was engaged in helping Anguilla navigate COVID-19 as an employee of the Anguilla Tourist Board.
Yes, I was in Anguilla during the time of COVID, and I was one of the lead persons in terms of developing the policies. Majority actually of the policies were developed by myself along with my colleagues, which guided the movements of tourism, helping to reopen the borders. And once they were in, we had different policies that existed. For example, the bubble policy, which allowed the visitors to partake in certain activities, and this was, and also walk in certain areas, because during the time they were constrained. We didn't want individuals, the visitors, to mingle with the locals. So what we created was the bubble concept, and there were policies to guide that.
She says her work in Anguilla's tourism sector during the pandemic was impactful.
I also worked very closely with the chief medical officer, doing site inspections, doing certifications to ensure that the individuals who were partaking in all the different activities or providing the services for the different activities that we provided during that time would be properly certified to ensure that spread of COVID-19 would have been mitigated. And Anguilla did rather well. I'm proud to say that we spent a year without any infections, and while everybody else in the world was locked down, we actually had carnival. That's how well we did, and I'm truly proud to say that we did quite a great job reopening our borders, and now they're doing amazingly well.
Ms. Ravere says her leadership role in the tourism sector in Anguilla helped prepare her for her new role at Discover Dominica Authority.
It gave me a good understanding of what we call tourism product inventory. That is having a sound idea of what the products are on island, what we could actually offer. And part of that inventory is looking very closely at the comparative advantage of the island and seeing how we could take these comparative advantages and turn them into competitive advantages. For example, Coliho has Koshimuna Lake. That's what we consider a comparative advantage and would be placed into a tourism inventory. Now we come together, and what we would do is come up with a plan. How can we turn that comparative advantage into a tourism product that would become a competitive advantage?
She holds a master's degree in tourism development and management and a bachelor's degree in international tourism management. She says her skills were sharpened during her stint in Anguilla, and she can now utilize them in Dominica. You are watching National Focus. More when we return.
Bache and buckle. Safer roads in the Nature Isle. This message was brought to you by the Government of the Commonwealth of Dominica.
The Government of Dominica continues to invest heavily in tourism attractions such as the cable car experience to add greater value to cruise shore excursions. Speaking at the official plaque exchange ceremony with Seven Seas Grandeur, Acting Minister of Tourism, Honorable Shakira Lockett-Hippolyte, expressed excitement for the ongoing cable car project.
We are excited about the construction of our cable car project. In 2025, the single cable car system will take riders 4.1 miles from the Roosevelt Valley to the Boiling Lake, one of the world's largest thermal springs in the Mont Wapito National Park. The 10-passenger detachable gondola will make the trip to the top in 20 minutes. This is a significant time saver compared to a rugged 6-hour round-trip hike across the rainforest to the lake.
Cruise tourism advances infrastructural development and national growth. Honorable Lockett-Hippolyte highlighted other upcoming projects to elevate the tourism industry in Dominica.
Infrastructure development. The revenue generated from cruise tourism often leads to infrastructural development, stimulating economic activity and contributing to our GDP. Infrastructure projects related to cruise tourism includes port facilities, transportation networks, and tourist attractions. Our government is committed to further developing the infrastructure for cruise tourism. We will soon launch initiatives such as Vendors Arcade, which will provide a space for local vendors to sell their produce directly to tourists, boosting the local economy and enhancing the tourism experience with authentic local goods.
The cable car project is expected to be completed in 2024 to attract an estimated 20,000 visitors a year. Health Promotion Coordinator of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Social Services, Mrs. Mignon Rule Shillingford, has urged Dominicans to remain cautious over increased cases of dengue. She highlighted 2 symptoms that distinguish dengue fever.
There's also dengue. We know dengue too is another type of virus, but this one is being transmitted within a mosquito, the Aedes aegypti mosquito. And of course, because we had a lot of people around as well, and we have mosquitoes dengue, so we also saw a number of cases of dengue, right? So dengue, we know it, we call it breakbone disease. So it too causes a lot of pain, so a lot of body pain. One of the signature things about dengue that differentiates it from a lot of other conditions is the type of pain it gives you behind your eyeball. So we call it periorbital pain. So when the nurse or somebody asks you to roll your eye, you'd have a lot of pain. And then also it can also give a rash.
She called for individuals to intensify efforts and actions to control the Aedes aegypti mosquito, the main vector that transmits dengue virus.
In terms of dengue, we know it is spread by the Aedes aegypti mosquito. So one of the most significant things in the prevention of the spread of dengue is to eliminate all breeding sites and to kill all the adult mosquitoes. These are the ones that bite, suck your blood, and while doing that, inject the virus into you. Okay, so we may have a lot of garbage, you know, and all of that right now. Let's sort our garbage properly. Let's clear all our coconut shells and our receptacles that we use during the festive season. Let us clean up our gutterings and, you know, our drums that we store. Let's seal them properly so then we do not have breeding. And of course, let's use other things like insecticides and put net in our windows and all that, so the adult mosquitoes that ended up surviving will not bite us and spread dengue.
She says the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, alerted Caribbean states of the concerning rise in cases and outbreaks in Caribbean islands.
So in terms of dengue, we know already CARPHA has sent out numerous warnings for the region that they are seeing changes in terms of how the mosquitoes are breeding and in terms of dengue. And a number of our sister islands have had outbreaks earlier on last year, including a number of deaths.
She also encouraged individuals to visit the health center or hospital for testing to determine cause of illness with the presence of the seasonal flu, COVID-19 and the dengue fever.
Some persons might be getting flu and still have dengue, or some might have dengue and just have flu, you understand? And that is why we want you to come in, you know, to your health centers, go to your physician and have yourself checked so we can know exactly what is going on happening with you, and then we can do the necessary monitoring.
According to the World Health Organization, the symptoms of dengue may include high fever, severe headache, pain behind the eyes, muscle and joint pains, nausea, vomiting, swollen glands, rash, severe abdominal pain, persistent vomiting, rapid breathing, bleeding gums or nose. Individuals who are infected with dengue virus for the second time are at greater risk of severe dengue and should seek medical care immediately. Coming up next, the Creole News Highlights with Jeno Jacob.
Bienvenue à ce nouvel en créole, nom monsieur Jeno Jacob. Premier ministre Domlec, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, qui attendait 46 meetings Caricom en Guyane 25 février 2124. Honorable Skerrit qui a adressé maintenant qui est pour 4 jours, maintenant qui discuté économie, single market et puis mouvement moun en Caricom. Ministre pour la Sécurité nationale, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore dit qu'il a supporté la démocratie et puis droit dominicain. Mais il n'a pas supporté la violence qui a détruit la paix et puis la sécurité du pays dominique. Il a condamné toute action violence. Ministre Blackmore a parlé à une press conference policière. Il a adressé la décision United Workers Party pour un meeting dimanche 25 février. Le gouvernement Labour Party cautionné contre la sécurité toute dominicaine. Le ministre Blackmore a averti dominicain pour ne pas danser des pièces là pour cabrit, pièces vieilles bonne masse qui a annoncé violence en pays dominique. Independent Regulatory Commission, IRC, une organisation indépendante qui a réglé Domlec, tient une consultation hier en Goodwill Parish Hall. Session est entendue par stakeholders, ça c'est un qui nie les terrains en IRC. Nous parlons également de Joseph Louis, qui a analysé les finances par IRC. Il dit à présent qu'il a gardé valeur pour l'électricité.
Actuellement, nous sommes dans le tariff période. Nous avons fait review pour dire tout, pour valeur pour l'électricité. So, nous sommes dans le premier stage pour process là, so nous avons une public consultation avec moun, so yo ke ba nou idea yo, la yo garder document là, et après ça c'est ça nous pour approve document là, et ça c'est que aider nous faire une détermination pour differentiation study.
IRC a remercié les stakeholders qui attendaient consultation.
Nous les remercions ces gens qui viennent. Nous tenons une belle session avec eux. Il était interactive. Ils parlaient, nous expliquaient, ils tapaient au meilleur understanding. Ça, IRC te dit, et ça, Domlec même consultant te ka di as to garde la nous calculate say numéro là pour déterminer sa depreciation rate que nous achieve. So nous ka di jour là te bien, c'était un bon jour pour nous, avec mon ni sufficient assez temps, merci, pour yo review document là, pour yo ba nous comments, avec yo sa provide IRC avec response.
Moun sa voye réponse yo à son email.
Email nous c'est www.ircdominica.org. Eve yo sa écrit lettre, eve écrit comment ça yo le dit à ce document là, eve response yo à ce document là, eve yo sa voye à ce IRC. Yo sa voye check sur yo finissement mois ça là.
Ministre agriculture a distribué une patate anglais en l'école ou en Domlec. En Vanzier, yo ba l'école Christian Union Primary en Goodwill, une patate anglais pour planter en lacou l'école là en sac. Maîtresse l'école là, ma Brenda George dit, était encouragé d'autres l'école en Domlec.
Moi, j'ai encouragé d'autres l'école en Dominique parce que pour moi, je ça yo voulait faire travail. Et si nous, comme principal défend l'école là, pas encourager yo peut faire. Comme ça, moi, encourager ces gens là qui a charge à l'école pour ni ces bagages ça dans l'école bas enfants parce qu'il ka aider yo, il pas ni aider yo dans là, mais il a développé l'esprit tout. Comme ça, je encourage de faire l'école là. Si c'est l'école qui ne peut pas faire rien, yo ça fait. Même si yo pas un gros morceau de terre, yo ça fait dans petit pot, flower pot, yo ça service ces petits bagages là, planter quelque chose pour ces affaires là vrai. Comment bagay ka fait? Comment yo ka manger les bagages la planter les vini, comment il ka vini, quand il ka planter yo ça regarder comment développement ces différents plans là. So moi encourager d'autres l'école pour faire c'est ça.
Coordinateur promotion santé ma Mignon Roll Shillingford a demandé Dominicien pour prendre précaution parce que maladie dengue ka courir. Il dit symptômes là c'est peine des yeux, un rash à sous la peau et puis la fièvre. Il a demandé public là pour contrôler maïgoué Aedes aegypti ka chaye virus dengue. Il a demandé moun pour visiter health clinic yo. Il y a un mauvais la ka courir aussi. Il a créé nasty business. Il a demandé, il a bamoun ça c'est mal tête, la fièvre, glane, rash, malboudin, et puis qu'a fait moun vomi autant. Ça c'est tout à ce nouvel en créole. Non, monsieur Gino Jacob, ni un bon week-end.
And that's all for this edition of National Focus. Be sure to follow GIS Dominica on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. You can also drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm. From all of us here on the GIS News Production team, I'm Julian Morris. Thanks for watching.